Okay, this is just a quick video because I haven't been able to find one anywhere, or in fact a good description of how this job is done. So I thought I would share it. I've just had some help off a Facebook group, Sony Alpha Facebook group. Oh no, actually it was off a lens repair Facebook group. I asked if anyone was familiar with this particular lens and the issue it has, and I received a description of how to do what I'm about to show you. It is shown in the service manual, which is available online. Here it shows that Sony have a special tool, finger, that goes in and rotates, but it's not really clear on how this is done. I suppose because they assume that if you had the special tool in hand it's obvious, and if you're a trained technician it's obvious. But if none of those things are the case, it's not so obvious how this is done and how this is actually held on. Now what I'm talking about is the infamous wobbly loose filter ring assembly on the Sony Zeiss 135mm f1.8 sonar lens. This piece is where the filters screw into, and it gets loose over time. There's various theories as to how it gets loose. The one that makes sense to me is that it's from having the hood, the very large hood, reversed, and while you're carrying it around in your bag, and that big hood over the top being fixed to this allows this big heavy lens to wobble, or will have forces applied to it that will pass through this part and make it loose. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about how to actually get this thing off, because Sony released a bulletin on how to resolve the issue, and basically all it is take it off, put some pieces of tape underneath to create more of a friction, or to fill up the space a bit more or whatever, and that's it. So it's fixed with duct tape, like all good problems. But how to get this off? Okay, let's get to it. So inside here there's the outer filter ring, which is at the top, the outermost darker blacker threads. Then there's slightly less, or grayer, less black ring here, and another one just below it. What you want is something that will replicate what the special tool does. The special tool doesn't screw in to anything like I thought it might have. It's just a press in and a friction sort of thing. And you want it to be able to be the exact the diameter of the inner rings, not the filter thread, but these inner rings. Okay, I've already got this off, and I'm not going to screw it back on to fully demonstrate, but basically I found this little Tupperware container that my daughter has her peanuts and snacks and whatnot in, and this outer diameter is the exact perfect size. When aligned properly and pressed in a little bit, it will snap into those grooves, the inner grooves, not the filter threads, but those inner grooves will snap in and allow you to turn and unscrew. And what you will actually find is that's what's being demonstrated here. As it says, push the tool into the draw ring assembly. The draw ring assembly is not the filter thread bit, it's the bit underneath that. So we're ignoring the filter threads. This tool gets pressed into these inner rings here and rotated counterclockwise to loosen it. So pressed in and unscrewed, and eventually it will unscrew, and you can then lift off this, and you'll see that all that is left on this one is the filter threads, and unscrewed from it has this ring here rotates. The middle ring, I suppose, when the assembly is all together, actually spins and screws into this. So that's how you get this off. It's actually screwed on, but this doesn't rotate, this rotates. And you want a tool that will engage perfectly with those rings and provide enough grip and resistance that you can actually spin it to unscrew from that. Then the fix is just apply 4 pieces of electrical tape and screw it back together again. So I'll do that and we'll see how we go. Okay, success. I've reassembled the lens, cleaned the front element and put a filter back on. It's just weird reflections there that look like stuff, but they're not. Anyway, that's not the point. Success. No wobble whatsoever. And prior to this, this was very, very wobbly, very loose. It would go click, 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 click. It would very disconcerting. It is just superficial, but nonetheless, it's not what you want. So it was actually, like I suspected, a pretty easy fix. You just needed to know that little trick. The service bulletin says put on 3 pieces of tape around that barrel. I found with the tape that I had that was too much, it's too thick, so I just put 2. I also did find that underneath this there's 3 screws that are called, on the diagram, are called guide pins, and they hold the piece that's underneath this, that those inner rings are a part of. Those screws were loose, and so I think the whole thing was wobbling. So it wasn't just a matter of this coming loose, it was the piece underneath it that this is attached to also being loose, and the whole lot wobbled. So anyway, the looseness of that piece could be caused by a number of things. I now realise, after seeing it all put together, could have been just a matter of this ring working its way loose over time, or also these 3 guide pins, or some of these 3 guide pins being loose and the whole assembly wobbly. Anyway, it is actually a really easy fix, so you just need to find yourself a tool. The person on the Facebook group said that he had a lens hood that fit perfectly with some tape around it to provide a bit of a grip fit, but I just saw this up on the bench and it fit perfectly. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting in, engaging with those grooves, not the filter threads themselves, the flocking grooves below that, and unscrew it. This whole piece just pops off. Check your 3 guide pins, tighten them down, apply a couple of little bits of tape, chuck the ring back on, screw it back up, and Robert's your mother's brother. She's tight as. All right, happy days.